Okay, there we go. Okay.
Jared,
can you hear us?
Jared needs to put his sound on.
Oh, okay, I'm here.
Yay.
Finally got it. Hi, y'all.
Hello.
Also, this is the first time I've ever used Zoom, so this should be interesting. It'll be a learning
Same.
A little confusing.
Very confusing.
If you guys want to use Skype or something else,
well, no, because don't we need to like record it or something too? Because we have to submit it to her. So I don't.
Yeah,
Skype.
It's recording.
We'll do that. Okay, cool. Great.
Terry is gonna put her.
Yeah.
Put your video on. It's easier to like talk seeing people's faces, I feel like.
Yeah,
because otherwise I'm gonna just like stare at names and be bored.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna turn it on.
Okay. Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay, so who wants to take notes for meetings? Do we just want to alter throughout like the meetings, like she said?
Yeah, I mean, don't we only have like 4 of these things to do? So one of us could do it for each or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, I don't mind doing it.
No, neither do I. I just need to know what I'm taking notes on because the like.
All right, Jared, you got this. You can do it.
Oh, great. Okay.
Cool. I think we're just taking notes on like our overall conversation so that we can reflect on our notes rather than having to go back and listen to the entire conversation.
Okay.
That was my understanding, but I could be completely wrong.
One second. Let me just like. Where's the syllabus? So, critical friends. By each due date listed in the calendar, you will post reflections. So I think we just need to like talk about like whatever. So
we're gonna talk about the readings, activities, service learning.
Yeah.
I haven't started my service learning. We can talk about that for a second. But I start tomorrow from 3 to 5, and I'm tutoring like little kids at a library after school.
Fun.
On Tuesdays.
Cool.
What are you guys doing?
My service learning, I'm doing one second. Let me open up a notes page. Sorry.
No, you're okay.
I'm working at, because I have to do an after school thing instead of an in school thing, but I'm working at the East Side Community Action Center, which is like an after school program that helps kids like do homework and just like keeping them in a good environment before like, because a lot of their parents, like both of their parents work or they're in single family homes, or single parent homes. So that's what mine is, and that's from like 4 to 6:30 on Tuesdays. But it should be fun. I'll be interested to see what comes of it, just because like they said that most of their kids like are really well behaved, but then they were like sometimes there's like big problem kids. So I'll just be interested to see how like me as well as like all the other people in my service learning thing just handle those situations. So
makes sense.
So I used to be in one of those like after school things when I was younger because my parents were divorced and like they both had full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool. Like it was structured, so we got snack and then we had like a homework time and then there was like an activity time where we could choose to like go to the gym or play outside with a group, or we could like do puzzles or color inside. So
yeah. Okay, yeah, because like it's in the basement of, well, correction, it's like a part of the church. It's like the East Side Action Center is in the church, but like they use like they have like a couple different rooms in the church that they get to use. But yeah, it's pretty much like the same thing. Also some of their like the pastor guy who we're working with for this thing was saying that depending on like what family they come from, that the students might not get to like eat when they go home. So we cook them meals. Like that's a part of our thing. It's just like teaching them to like cook very basic meals, just like super pasta or something like that. And then just like feeding them and stuff. So I think it'll be interesting, but I'm really like excited to just learn from it and stuff. So yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Sorry, Nicole, what was yours again? Because I'm just gonna put it in the notes.
Oh yeah, so I'm doing it's at a library, and kids, I think it is kindergarten through 8th grade can come and we just help them with their homework. So we haven't had an orientation, nor has it really said much or even like what school district it's a part of. But
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yes, what I'm
I
up to.
think, honestly, though, I don't know if any of us are going to have service learning this week. One, because of the fact
Weather.
that our clearances, and two, like, all the
My
schools in
clearances
the
are
area
in.
are closed. So, yeah. But that should be interesting.
Yeah,
What are you guys doing, Emily?
What?
What are you guys doing for your service learning?
Oh, I signed up to be like a classroom assistant at Forest View Elementary School. It's down by like Forest Acres Golf Course, so like southwest side of campus. And I reached out to the coordinator last week, and I haven't heard anything yet. So we'll see. But
Hopefully,
I'm really excited. When I remember when I was in kindergarten, we had high school buddies, and that was like my favorite part of the week was being able to see
Yeah.
that. So I'm really excited to be that positive role model for these.
Yeah.
So
And that's like, sorry, that's an in-class one, right, Emily? Like during the school day, right?
Classroom,
Okay.
yeah. Thursday mornings.
Got you. Okay. And Terry?
yeah, so I registered in Chinese immersion classroom, and I will be the tutor for the program. And my job is to like take care of children and like teach them some basic Chinese and
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
assist the teacher to like get to know them and create a connection between them and the classroom, I think. Yeah.
Nice. Wait,
Yeah.
so you're teaching them Chinese?
Yes.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome. Wait,
because it is
what?
a Chinese program, so.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
That's cool.
That sounds like really just, awesome.
Yeah, I was really impressed by how many different options you could choose from for this service learning thing. Like,
Yeah.
they had a lot of really interesting ideas.
Yeah. And I think it was not, at least like, even though not all of them might have worked out time-wise, I think it was interesting. I think it was like nice that all of us could find something that was like at least slightly relevant to what we're just generally interested in. So
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, it also says, Jared, if you're done typing that we could talk about activities. It says spend time discussing readings, activities, service learning. So does that mean like in-class activities that we've done?
I think so. Have any of you gone to any of the talks yet?
Right.
I went to, I can't make any of the talks because they're all like Wednesday afternoons before our class or like Wednesday evenings, and I work and I have other like commitments for different things. But I went to the College of Music's MLK dedicated jazz concert on the Sunday before MLK Day. And it was actually just like really interesting. And I mean, like I wrote about it already, but it was just like really interesting to see that yet again, like typically in the College of Music, or just at least in general, like I feel like jazz music is very underappreciated because it's not like your like white old German guy from like, Western culture playing music. And so it's just nice to get to have that representation with those sorts of things, as well as the fact, and here's some juicy gossip, I guess, if you want to call it gossip. There was like a white woman there who was having a conversation with a black woman whom I'm assuming she didn't know. And so the white woman said something, and the African American woman said, you inherently have privilege because you're white that I will never have. You saying that to me is offensive. And like, I didn't understand what the white woman had said because I didn't hear it. But I just was like thinking about all the things that we talked about with like prison pipeline and just like injustice and stuff like that. And it was just interesting to like see the fact that it's still happening today on our like own campus. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy to hear.
Yeah.
I like never think that those things happen. Like I never expect to hear someone like speak out like that they've been hurt, or like words have hurt them, I guess. I mean, I'm not I'm not a minority. I feel like, I guess I'm a woman, but so that's crazy. Good for her.
True, exactly. Yeah, I just like, yeah, you never think it's gonna happen until you like see it happen. Like, I've never witnessed something like that. I mean, like, you know, we see it all the time on like media and stuff, but I just like saw it and I was like, wow, that's still happening. Not that I don't believe it still happens, like when I see it on the media, but like when you see it like literally and you're right there, it's just like,
right. A lot crazier.
Yeah, that's my experience so far.
Well, that's a good one. Did you guys watch Growing Up Coy? Did any of you?
I did, yeah.
I did as well.
It was a really interesting documentary.
Yeah.
I agree. I kind of, when we watched the trailer in class, I was a little bit hesitant. Just, I don't know why. I kind of just was, the idea of a little kid being so vocal about wanting to be different. I don't know why. I was kind of like, I don't know how I'll feel about this. And like watching it the entire time, I'm like, it's just so natural. Like, he was just born, but he wanted to be a girl. Like, she, I guess, was born, wanted to be a girl, and that's who she is. And like, I kind of thought it was intriguing. Like, her mom grew up in such like no medications, no like very strict household, and her dad was like a military guy, like, you know, manly man, if you would, type of person, and just how easily they kind of like let her be who she wants to be and how much they stood up for her. What did you guys think about her parents putting her on social media? And
I think it'll be really interesting to follow up with that case later on down the road to see like where Coy is like 15 years from now and the different challenges she's gone through or not gone through. Like, is she now like this idol of this part of the LGBTQ movement? Because I know like significant advances have been made in the whole like public sphere of that, like the whole bathroom situation, and now like it's more accepted in classrooms, which was also a really interesting read. I don't know if you guys got to it, but there was an article, I think it was an NPR article /
yeah, I read that.
Yeah, that was really interesting, interviewing the different teachers to how comfortable they were or weren't comfortable, and like if they'd been offended.
Was it the one oh, I know it. Yeah, was it the podcast thing that you could listen to as well?
Yeah, you could listen to it or read it. Yeah, but she removed it today. That was one of the things I did read.
Yeah, I did read it. I read it yesterday, and then I kind of, listened to it, and then I read down further, and it was just kind of interesting, like, the number of people who felt uncomfortable coming out in the workplace, but then their reasons why. So some of them were like, well, I'm the sole provider of my household, so I couldn't. And then I also thought it was interesting, like, they experienced verbal abuse, and, like, that included, you know, mixing up their pronouns or, you know, telling them that they need to change their appearance and things like that. And, I mean, for me, I feel like the pronouns would be a hard thing, I think, for myself to get used to, like, to call someone. Like, I wouldn't mean it to be abuse or rude if I would, you know, mix up someone's pronouns. So I kind of thought about that, like, in a personal context, like, you need to be really aware of the person you're talking to and how they want to be referred to as. But, I mean, also very sad. I also feel like, hopefully in today's society, things are getting a little bit better.
Yeah, and the whole pronoun thing is really hard for me too because it's so new, and unless you already know the person, like, you don't know what they will identify as.
Yeah.
So then, I mean,
by the way, I just sent all y'all the link to the NPR thing in case you want to go back and read it when we like go to do reactions and stuff for this chat. But I just went in my history and I found it. Sorry to interrupt.
That's all good. Thank you.
Yeah,
it's just like really hard to approach that because you don't know what they are, who they are, sort of.
I also thought go ahead, Jared.
Oh no! I was gonna ask because I know the three of us read it. Terry, watched it? Terry, did you end up watching Growing Up Coy?
Yes.
What
And
did you think?
yeah, the topic of transgender is also it's the new one for me because like in China, people rarely talk about this topic, and
Mm.
there's like less transgenders in China, but I know that there are a lot of people who want to transfer their biological identity, like I know one of my friend, he always he always want to like say, he want to be a girl someday,
Mm.
and but actually like in China, there is no surgery about it. So and
Mm.
and for the LGBTQ group, there's no legal law for them to protect them.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so I'm really glad to see like the Koi get the legal protection, like
Hmm.
the law allow the transgenders to go to have the special. I don't know if that means the transgender can use both male or female restroom if they want to,
Yeah.
or okay, yeah. So I'm really glad to see Wan Koi can get the protection from law. And I also saw the transgenders restroom in Olin Center before.
Oh,
Mm.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is a specific restroom only for transgenders. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, I think it's important to recognize, and like, I don't know, again, like, I guess this is just like a personal opinion, but like,
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's just like, you're in the bathroom to do your business. Like, I feel like people who do identify as transgender are more fearful of being attacked than that, because like everyone's argument is like, oh, so and so is gonna like attack my daughter or my son, and
Mm-hmm.
like, honestly, I think that people just want to go into a bathroom where they feel comfortable, pee or do whatever they need to do in peace, and leave. Like, I don't go to the bathroom for social hour. I go, get in and get out, you know? And the other thing that I like kind of took note of, especially during the movie, was that all the kids like who interacted with Koi as like young children were all like, "Are you a boy or a girl?" And then Koi just said, "A girl," and then they just went and kept playing. And I think that's something really important to realize, especially like when you think back to the socialization articles that we read. It's like, we as adults and like just people who are older are socializing young children to believe that this isn't okay, and that like, you know, that people are like not healthy if they are, or they identify a certain way. And I think it's just like important to notice the fact that like none of the children cared. They just wanted to play and have fun with their friends. And like, I think that's something that we could all really learn from, because like, the kids aren't viewing it as like a whole social issue. We're the ones who are putting it into like social context where this is like difficult. So
Right. Well, the kids, I mean, they're growing up with it. It's like our age and older, it's a new thing. So,
true.
And then
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys caught the other article. It was a little bit longer about, I don't know exactly what it was called, but something about like homophobia and like fear and something else. And it talked a lot about like men's stereotypes and how they're supposed to be like manly men and like get certain kind of jobs and react a certain way. And anything that would show them being girly like wasn't good. They did an example where there was a bunch of little boys playing on a playground, and some guy walked up, like a random older guy, and said, "Who's a sissy?" And you know, it all starts out as one good kid saying, well he is," and the guys, like the little boys,
Yeah.
like, "Oh, no I'm not." Like, it's a big thing, like, to kind of keep this like gender role and how you would like supposedly be outsed or whatever if you were shown as
Yeah.
being girly. So I thought it was interesting, this article. It didn't have a date on it, but was all referenced from like 1970s, 80s, 90s type of thing.
Yeah.
And I would be interested to see if, you know, the similar experiment was conducted today, if the same reactions from little boys would occur, because I feel like younger generations are just kind of more accepting no matter who you are, because that is the society that we live in, that is more present, more talked about, I feel like more understood than before. So, and I was happy to see, kind of relating that to Koi, like she didn't receive any like negative responses from like her peers at school, at least, and even her teachers seemed to be like on board with it. It just seemed to be like the overall like student board that had an issue with her using the bathroom, because the teacher said like, no, Koi's a girl, like if anybody asked her, right? That's what they said.
Yeah. And I think like again, very personal bias coming into this, as we all do have biases and whatnot, but like I just don't like it how the school board or like the parents really made it sound like it was like being transgender was, for lack of a better phrase, like a disease. Like they were talking about, oh, if Koi goes into the bathroom with my son or daughter, like what is that going to make them think? Like, I don't want my son or daughter to be like turning out that way. And it was just like, it didn't make sense to me, because none of the kids had an issue with it. Like if the parents just asked their kids, hey, are you comfortable with sharing a bathroom with Koi? Like, yeah, I get that the kids don't understand it, but if we were all to like start to nurture kids in that way, where like they understood that like the difference between gender identity and like sex, like I don't know, I think that there's a lot to be learned from this movie in society and just for like individuals in general. So
I think that's a really good point. And then I also think that almost if someone's kid did have a problem with it, then they could go to the gender neutral bathrooms in the nurse's office, or those things. The kids that aren't comfortable with it, they can take the alternative rather than pushing Koi to the alternative.
Yeah, I like that idea, because not a lot of people bring up that the person who's uncomfortable should be the one to use the alternative bathroom. The argument is always, oh, like so-and-so should have to use an alternative bathroom because they're breaking stereotypes and norms and stuff. But I really like that point, Nicole. I think I agree with that.
It's really funny because there's so many times, like I'll be at a restaurant and there's a wait for the women's bathrooms. I just go into the men's, like I don't care. Bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like a bathroom's a bathroom, period. Like I don't know why this is so hard to understand.
Should we try talking about some of the like to switch conversation since we've been on this for a minute? Like maybe talking to some of the activities we've had to do. I guess I don't know how far back, but like we could talk about our thoughts on like when we had to watch that video and write thoughts on the clips. That was about or even like I don't know what other activities we've done through class.
We did one of the ones that I would like to hear your guys' thoughts on is the string community activity. I really like that.
We can start with that.
I thought that was cool. And then another one that I think we should touch on. I think we're probably going to discuss it in class, but I think something that we should touch on is like our intersectionality road thingy, and like whether or not we still believe that knowledge is the root of it all. So if anyone would like to take the wheel,
I could start, I guess, for the string throwing in class. So kind of when she said that this is the activity we're going to do, this is how it's going to run, I don't get nervous presenting in front of groups. I have never had that issue. And she said that and my heart dropped and like I started getting really hot and like anxious just because I feel like first off, I'm pretty just like average, normal person. I don't have a lot of crazy experiences. Second off, I don't want to offend anybody. Third, I just think everyone has something more interesting to relate to than like what I would, just talking about that topic. But I was really interested to see how kind of everyone did have some type of experience with, you know, someone who would be gay or whatever. And it was just interesting to hear how everyone like had experiences that jumped off of each other. I mean, I kind of realized that, I had an experience to talk about when the one kid, I forget his name, talked about painting his nails or something, and then how that related to my neighbor. But I never would have thought about that before until he said something. And as soon as he said it, I was able to calm down and be like, okay, yeah, like this is normal. But I liked how she didn't make everyone present as well.
Yeah.
Or like talk, because I mean, it's a difficult topic, I suppose.
Yeah.
For pretty much everybody's comment, I thought in my brain, and it like flashed me back to a memory that I had with one of my friends, like the painting nails thing. Like one of my best friends and I, when we were like 5, we would cover her older brother with makeup, and we would paint his nails, and we would like play dress up with him, or I don't know, just like silly things like that would always pop up in my memory. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just good things.
No, I just thought it was like interesting because, you know, you start off with one thing and it's like we all really do come from different walks of life, and you don't really see that until you do something like that, and like you're willing to be vulnerable. And I'm glad that we had like the Vegas rules, like it gets talked about stays in there, because I think that made a lot of people comfortable with just like sharing their experience. And like even if you didn't end up talking, I think that by not talking, then you should take the opportunity to learn and hear what other people have to say. Because again, like bringing it all back to knowledge, like the more you know, the more aware you'll be of just things in society in general. So that'll make you like, it'll just make you more knowledgeable and more like, oh, I remember when, you know, Emily said something about like using makeup on a boy, and like now I can like reference that like memory or that story when I am in a situation where, oh, that's a boy who's wearing a ton of makeup. Like just something like that. Like I think that any form of communication is supposed to be an exchange of knowledge, and that activity was nothing less than that, because we were all exchanging not factual knowledge but personal knowledge of like, you know, our various experiences in those sorts of events and whatnot. So yeah.
Terry, were you there for that activity?
Yes. Actually, I did not share my experience, but this make me think of when I was in primary school. I still remember there is a boy in my classroom. He like play with other girls, but he is scared like other boys are bullying him. So yeah, so I think this is very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think like sort of like Emily was talking about, Terry, like just to make connections again, like you have that like, and even between the stereotype article that Nicole was talking about, like nobody has to be forced under a stereotype like that kid was. And like, it's obviously not okay that that kid was bullied, but I think it's even more important to realize that like we still do have those stereotypes in our society. So like helping to be the ones to, you know, break it down and say, hey, that's not cool. Like that boy can, you know, like girly things or things that are considered girly, or like, you know, actually show his emotions and stuff like that. I think it's like really important to be the ones who are catalysts for that, you know?
Yeah, and kind of going off of that and relating it to the book a little bit, one of the first chapters we read was about socialization and how sex and gender are very like socialized in society. Like you don't realize that they are, but like it would be hard to undo them, like their cultural norms, like the fact that, you know, boys wear blue, boys a blue color, pink's a girl color, and like how hard it would be to reverse that in your mind. Like no matter how much you're like, oh, boys can wear pink and girls can wear blue and whatever, you know, you say that in your mind, it's hard to kind of like take that step backwards and go back to where everything is equal, or where like, oh, you know, like guys don't have to shave under their arms, but girls do. And if you see a girl that doesn't, how weird it is. Just, you know, it catches your attention, but you would never notice that on a guy. And it just, I don't know, I guess that kind of.
I think the fishbowl example has been by far my favorite out of the book.
Emily, 1 second. So filler, I'm an RA and my residents are blasting music next to me, so I'm having a difficult time hearing you guys. I don't know if you guys can hear. I'm gonna go tell them to like. 1 second, I'll be right back.
Okay.
That's funny. I forgot he was an RA.
I think you don't need to pay the fee for the room if you are RA, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, it's free.
Yeah,
By a lot of
That's cool.
Guess he's good at doing his job. So after this, we have to write a.
I'm back.
Good for you.
Fun times.
That's funny.
Copy and paste the notes you're taking into the Google Doc.
Yeah, no, I just made it straight into a Google Doc, so I'll share it with
Oh.
you guys when I finish up the.
Are you gonna? You should copy and paste it into the Google Doc from. That's on the D2L, right?
Yeah.
Professor Oviatt has access to because she has to go on and look at it.
Wait, so do we need to do we need to submit personal reflections on our conversation, or just the notes, or what?
So on.
All of it, I think.
Yeah. So I think on. So Emily was explaining this. She called me earlier because I couldn't figure it out. But there's a Google Doc if you go on the D2L and then the critical friends and like the whatever you click on that survey. That was the screenshot that Emily sent in like our emails. And there's gonna be a Google Doc. So there's like a spot for your individual posting, and then there's a spot for the group video discussion. So I think Jared, you'll post the notes that you're taking in that group video discussion number 1, and then post like your little like thoughts, like your little 250 word or more thing in under the individual posting.
Cool. Okay.
And if you don't get that, then just email / we should get each other's numbers.
Yeah. Wait, did y'all join the group me that Terry made? Do you guys have?
I did. Yeah.
I did as well.
I will do that. I have not done
that yet. No, you're fine. I just know that like group me is going to be much easier than playing email.
Just
so very
especially because like some of those emails like then had all of the previous emails within that single email.
I was getting so lost.
I was like, I don't know what I'm reading.
I was sweating and getting confused. Like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't start timing this like exactly at when we started, but I'm at 26, so I'm assuming we're closer to like 35 minutes, right? Does anyone know?
No, I don't know. I didn't start
because we said
the time either. I mean, I know I got back to my dorm and immediately called you guys, and that was at like 7:15-ish.
Okay, so we're probably at like 35 minutes. 30.
Yeah, probably that ish. Do y'all want to discuss sort of like as a wrap up closing idea or topic, our intersectionality road thing?
Yeah, I think we have to talk for like another 15 or 20 minutes, but
I completely forgot about that. I totally forgot we started that road thing.
Yeah. I still think our knowledge is number 1, especially like, are we talking about if we still think knowledge is our first road?
Yeah, sure. That, or just like if we should change our first road, or like how, because we made the knowledge the first road when we were only like we had only started to think about like race and ethnicity, because that's all we had talked about in the class yet. So I guess then like now tying in all the things that we've discussed on like the LGBT community and LGBTQ community, and like watching the documentary and stuff like that. How do we feel about our road? Should we keep it? How does our road, if we do keep it, how does that relate to the new information that we've started to talk about? Just like,
Okay, I'll start just wherever we can go down the little video list. But so I personally think that knowledge should still be our beginning road, and that's what everyone needs. I think personally for me, I don't know as much about the LGBT community as maybe I thought I did. I never thought I knew that much, but I didn't think that there was that much to know. I know that kind of sounds naive. And after watching this video on Koi and reading all these articles, I kind of realized that there is a lot to know. I mean, little things like we talked about earlier with the pronouns. I'm sure if I would have met someone who was transgender, I wouldn't have thought twice. I wouldn't think it would be rude. So like if I did educate myself, or others were educated, or it was necessary for, you know, teachers to teach these subjects in school, to just be polite and, you know, a nice person in society, that it would be so helpful, because the more that people are exposed to things, almost the more normal it becomes, and the easier it is just to kind of accept people's differences because you're taught it, you know. So I think that knowledge is still the number one, and I think that comes across with races, religions. I think, you know, you could really relate that to any topic.
Yeah. I can definitely attest to that on a personal experience too, because like before I met one of my friends here in college, like I literally knew nothing about it. Like I knew of like gay and lesbian and transgender people, but I didn't know about the rest of the spectrum. And she like was very open and was like, yeah, so I'm studying this. If you want to know anything, just let me know. Like I can share my insights with you on the stuff I'm educated about, and if not, I can direct you to something better. So
yeah, like to gaining knowledge is what we are doing now for this class. And like we might also be the future educator, and so like we can also use the knowledge we gain to teach other people what is the theory, and what is how does it work, something like that.
Yeah. And kind of like to go off of Terry's point, like I think that knowledge is like, you know, you do have the power as an educator or just like as a leader in our society to be able to, you know, go and talk to people and be like, yo, like this is how things are working, and like you should really be more conscientious of like other people's experiences. And I think like sort of to touch on the other side of knowledge, as in like who produces knowledge and who has control of knowledge, like the more our generation starts to change that control, like I'm just thinking about like even like the primary election that we had just last fall, like there were so many people of color and of minorities like groups in society that were put into office. And I think that's such an amazing thing, because instead of publishing the knowledge that like, oh, only like old white men in Congress are the ones who are in charge of like what curriculum gets passed, and like, you know, all those various things for like laws, bills, our school system, stuff like that, like now it's really being taken into the hands of like more than just one cultural group who is getting to determine what kids learn in schools. So I think that like as future educators or leaders, it'll be important for us to, you know, follow in those footsteps and be willing to teach other people about like, you know, just like the world and what they might have not experienced, because, you know, some people don't come from an area with a lot of experience, but I think it's important to encourage being open-minded and being like just open for knowledge and experience.
Right, and that like ties to our community engagement and like what we do, and like I think that's the sole purpose we are doing it, is because the contents of this course is educating us, and then we're going out into the community and teaching these little kids like, hey, it's okay to do this or to be like this or whatever.
Right. And going off of that, it's kind of interesting. My aunt and uncle live in Virginia, so you know, before kind of the Trump administration was elected, all of their governors, I'm kind of pulling a blank on what word I'm trying to go for.
Legislators?
Yeah, just like, or who's like the overall state. It's
state representative?
Yeah, I don't know. They're all, yeah, something like that. Some big high up in politics, whatever. They always had rich, white, middle-aged men, and like the primary, whatever, after Trump, they had rich, white, middle-aged men running and a gay man running, and the gay man actually won over the white guy. It was a big shift over all of Virginia's population, which was crazy. And I also think you saw that in like Texas's run for, what am I trying to think of? Mayor, whatever word I'm thinking of.
It was congressional races.
What?
It was congressional races.
Yeah, congressional races. And although like the rich white man won, the race between him and his candidate who was, I forget what he was gay or he was black, some minority, was close, like something like 51 to 48%, you know, very, very close, which in like years prior, Texas would have never seen something so close. So you're seeing it in today's society, how people are kind of, you know, rooting for who the person is maybe and not necessarily what they look like, their affluency, things like that. So
yeah, agreed. I think it's important to notice exactly what you were saying, because like before and just like all throughout history, it was always like what you look like and not what you stand by. And I think our society is really changing to like see that like there actually is more to a person than like their skin color and their height and their weight and their age and their religion and, you know, all the other things that make up like sort of like the iceberg model. Like here's everything that we can see on the outside, but like everything below the surface is like what people are actually starting to pay attention to. God bless, because that's what we really need in today's society to just like move forward.
Yeah,
totally agree.
Yeah,
it was also the #1 year for females in state legislatures, so
yo, bet.
yeah.
Power. That's how you do
That
it.
was actually something that I reflected about in my individual response, like that we were supposed to do before the call. Is it's like one thing I've noticed, like I commented and like said I wasn't sure if it was just my white privilege that I could speak to this for, but the world that because I'm like very involved in politics and this and that and the other thing, and I'm a human rights activist, and I'm very involved, but I'm very involved in the renewable energy world, and the last year I've seen, so it's a predominantly male world because of like engineers and like economists and several other like careers that are just male, but have reached out to me and said like, hey, we really want women in this field and we'll pay you X amount, and it's more than what men make for that role. And the energy industry is now the #1 female CEO occupied industry in the world, which is so cool. And I just think it's amazing.
Yeah. I don't know, like nothing bothers me about that statement, because like I'm happy that women are starting to run the world, because God knows we need some of that influence. But one of the things that my mom always told me was that when she first went to college, she went to go get a computer science degree, which she did graduate with. And her dad looked at her and he said, you're never going to have a problem getting into a workforce, because so many companies are looking to start to incorporate women into their workforce. And she then countered with the idea that she doesn't want to be hired because she is a woman in computer science. She wants to be hired because she can do just the same quality work as everyone else and has all the same qualifications. I think that's really important to notice, because like even though like the people who are who have power over knowledge, or I guess knowledge and power, like even though it's all men, like it's because we think that like we've just been excluding women. Like just our society in general has been excluding women, and it's terrible. But like we need to start focusing on the fact that like women and people of minority backgrounds and just like literally everyone, maybe not everyone, but like 99% of the population actually has something like innovative to offer the world. And if we all just gave them a chance, instead of like having our knowledge in our society be like, oh, pretty much everyone who's like not a cisgender white straight you know, middle class privileged man, like everyone else is like their opinion is invalid, like only the heterosexual cisgender white old middle class man is the only opinion that matters anymore. So but just my thoughts.
Okay, one question that was in the thing that we need to decide is who's going to initiate meeting planning and times.
Like, you mean for future meetings?
Yeah, like tonight I was like, hey guys, did you see this? We have to do this.
So is it going to be the same person every time?
I mean, it can be a different person, but there's more accountability to the same person. I'm fine doing it. I don't care.
I was going to say, you did a good job of doing it, and I trust you, so I'd be down to let you take responsibility if you want it. If we want to switch, that's also fine. I'm down to do it.
I was going to say, I can just make a doodle poll for all of our future meetings.
Yeah. And I was going to say, and I mean, I don't want to put Terry on the spot, but Terry was the one, correct me if I'm wrong, but Terry was the one who set up the Zoom room or whatever. I don't know how to set up a Zoom room, so I'm going to pass on the responsibility of setting up meetings.
Oh, I can do that.
Yeah, I was going to say, Terry, if you want to set up like meeting times and like try to like work that out, because I know like you can do poll things in GroupMe, and you were also the one to set up that. So like, I don't know. I feel like that seems like a solid idea, but I really don't care who does it. Just not me, because
I can do that. So how about like I just tell you the time on the GroupMe?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Give us a few different times, and we just go whichever one works.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, that sounds great to me.
Sweet.
And I think I have to upload the video on the Google Doc, right?
Yes.
Wait, can we all access the video, or is it only one person who has
I'm recording for the whole.
Oh, Terry, you're recording? Okay, yeah.
So where do we post the video after this then?
Just like Terry saves it as like a file or whatever, and then she just posts it in like isn't there like the link? Isn't that
the Google Doc
thing? Yeah. The Google, maybe in the Google Doc, or in like, I don't know. I feel like there's probably some sort of Dropbox or something or another that we can put in.
Yeah, we should be able to export it as a link, and then we just put it right in the Google Doc.
Yeah.
And then I guess also, do we individually have to go write another write-up about our thoughts on this?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think it's just the one before, and then,
Wait, did you guys write one before?
Yeah.
Oh, LOL. I was in a meeting before this, so.
It's all good.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You're just 250 words about your or more, just minimum on your thoughts of the readings, just kind of what we just did right now on your own terms.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I shared what my opinions and I discussed, so I can write about that, because that was what I would have thought prior to this anyway. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, is that it? Because we're at 8:05. I know somebody said that they had something to do at around 8 o'clock.
Yeah. So on my phone, we're at 42